Early Thursday morning, in fact, at 1:30 a.m., Senate Republicans held a vote whether or not to repeal certain parts of the Affordable Care Act, or Obamacare. Well, that measure passed, and now those individual pieces of Obamacare are going to go to their individual committees, where Republicans will draft legislation, include these in various budget bills to try to pick apart the legislation piece by piece. Now, here's why this story is important. I know we've talked a lot about Republicans trying to repeal the Affordable Care Act, but here's the thing. They did this at 1:30 in the morning. While most Americans were at home sleeping, Republicans were in Washington, D.C. trying to take away the health care from 22 million American citizens, because they did attempt and so far have been successful in taking out the pre-existing conditions clause that was one of the best parts of the Affordable Care Act. Now, Paul Ryan's plan over in the House of Representatives does include a pre-existing conditions clause, and in fact, most of the good things about Ryan Care are actually identical to Obamacare. Again, though, Republicans did this middle of the night, early in the morning, when no one was paying attention. And they only did this so that they could give the wealthy in this country a tax break. Because if you remember, a lot of the subsidies in Obamacare are paid for by a modest tax increase on people making more than $250,000 a year. That's what's behind this Obamacare repeal, is Republicans wanting to give the wealthy an even bigger tax break. That is the only reason for this. The pharmaceutical industry loves Obamacare. The health insurance industry loves Obamacare. As it turns out, the majority of the public, while they agree that the bill is flawed, they do enjoy having health insurance. It's Republican congressmen who are obsessed with repealing this. In fact, there's a lot of Republicans online right now saying, yeah, we should repeal Obamacare, but just leave the Affordable Care Act in place because I like that. They don't even realize that they're the same thing, just a different name. Republicans who don't like Obamacare don't like it because it was passed by a black Democrat. That's what American citizens, that's their thought process on that. In Washington, it's because they want to give a tax break to the rich. Thom Hartmann actually did a phenomenal segment on that yesterday, talking about all of these Republicans who do not know that Obamacare is the Affordable Care Act. And that's what we're faced with here, folks. This is a massive misinformation campaign that's been going on for 6 years. But let me tell you what hasn't been going on for 6 years. Since day one of this piece of legislation getting signed into law, Republicans have wanted to repeal it. They've been doing so, or trying to do so, for 6 years. And in 6 years, those idiots haven't been able to come up with any form of replacement whatsoever. I mean, Paul Ryan has a couple talking points on the issue, but it's not a full plan. It's not legislation. 6 years, and these morons haven't even come up with a single page on what to replace Obamacare with. That's the scariest part. Not that they don't have a plan, but that they're not smart enough to come up with a plan after 6 friggin' years. How much more pathetic can you get? I mean, these guys are going to repeal Obamacare. They're going to take health care away from 22 million Americans, and they have nothing to replace it with. Rand Paul was the only Republican with enough courage to stand up and say, listen, I'm not going to vote to repeal this thing till you have a replacement ready to go the second we repeal this. The only one, Rand Paul. Scary, huh? It's scary to think that Rand Paul might be the smartest or most compassionate Republican in the Senate. But that's what we're faced with here. If Rand Paul is the standard that all other Republicans need to look up to, we are in serious trouble in this country.